Continuing on with 11-1, basically here they want you to come up with an algebraic expression, right? They've given you a pattern here, but they're not saying, hey, what are you doing each time? I know we're adding 5 here, right? But then what's happening is that they want you to get to the 20th term, find the 20th term. And if we can create an algebraic expression, we can pop in 20 for the variable and then get to the 20th term without having to say plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, because that would become very burdensome. So your eye should lock in on the very first number of the sequence, 5 in this situation. And then you ask yourself, what can you multiply by? Because this is going to be a very simple algebraic expression. We're not going to make it difficult like we did on the other page, right? Instead, we're just going to say, hey, what can I times 5 by to get to 10? Well, that'd be 5 times 2, and 2 would be the second term. But what could I times the 5 by to get to the third term? 5 times what equals 15? I'm hoping that you're saying, hey, 5 times 3 is 15, and remember, 3 is the third term. So what could I times 5 by to get the fourth term? I'll just times it by 4. So 5 times 4 would be 20. See how we can just skip over these and get straight to the fourth term? Or quite frankly, we can skip over those terms and get to any number that we want. Take 5 and times it by whatever term number that you want. So in order to make a generic algebraic expression, take the first term number, in this case 5, right? And since we're timesing it by the term number, we can just call that an n, or we can call it an x. Over here I said plug it in for x right there. We're going to switch that up and make it an n. And so how can we do that? Well, we came up with our algebraic expression, and so now I'm going to say, hey, 5n, so 5 times 20 is 100. So the 20th term in the sequence is going to be 100. So let's go and let's check this one right here. Now you can see that the very first term in the sequence is -2. Take -2, write it down right here, and then ask yourself, what could I times this by to get to some of these terms that are already sitting there? Let's see, I could take -2 and times it by 2 to get -4. I could take -2 and times it by 3 to get the third term. I could take -2 and times it by 4 and get the fourth term. So it's going to be -2 times whatever term number that we want. And so let's just call that an n. And for your notes, let's just draw a little arrow and remind ourselves what that n is. N will be the term position, and it doesn't have to be an n. It could be any variable that you want. I could have made this an x, and I could have had that be an x, but we'll just keep everything with n over here. And to recap, again, you take your very first number of the sequence, you put it there, and then for these very easy ones, you can see, oh, we could just times that first term by whatever position number we wanted. So if I put in a 3, 3 times 5 is the third term, 15. Yep, that works. So then that lets me be able to plug in any term number I want and skip the line. We can go from 5 all the way to 100, and it saves us so much time. So here we go again, -2, and I'm not even worried about the adding or subtracting, am I? So I take that and put it right here, and then I say, well, can I times it by something to get right here, and then can I times this one to skip over the second to get to the third? Yeah, it'd be -2 times 3, the third position. It works out wonderfully because it's such a simple expression. They're not all this easy, but to get you used to it, it is. And so -2 can be times by 20 to jump straight over to the 20th term. So again, this n represents the term position, and we want the 20th, so this becomes 20. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't have had 20 sitting there like that, so let me just regroup here. This is our algebraic expression that we created right there. Not 20, negative 20n, but just negative 2 times n, right? Well, this n becomes 20. And that means that our final 20th term of the sequence would become negative 40. Okay? So I'm hoping this kind of gives you a little bit of a exact type of instruction of how to deal with these simpler sequences that are arithmetic based, but we can then make the algebraic expression usually using something like this. And it's not always going to work for the more difficult ones, but it should get you started with it.